What's up everyone? Welcome back to Blake's Garage. Today we're going to mix it up a little bit. We're going to do some woodworking. I've got a lady that wants one of my porch posts, so we're going to work on putting one of those together. I've got some of the stuff laid out. I've switched the garage over to woodworking mode, so let's see what we can do. So I've got all the supplies set up here. This 4x4 is going to be the main post. We're going to have this larger 2x12 as a base, the smaller 1x6 as a decorative platform. I'm going to cut my own trim. We've got the topper here. I've got the saw set up to get everything cut to length. I'm going to get started on that. I want to mark everything out. I do need to cut the end of this 4x4 because it doesn't look like it's square and I want it to be nice and straight. So I'm going to get started on that. I'll pick back up once I get everything marked up. Alright, so I got everything marked up and got some straight lines drawn. This is actually a 2x10 for a base, which is 9 3/8 wide. This is a 1x6, which is 5 9/16 wide. So I got the lines drawn up. I did a straight line on the end of this post. It looks pretty straight, but I'm going to double check just to make sure. I don't want my topper to be crooked once I put it on there. I'll cut the trim later once I get everything pieced together because it'll have to be cut per side individually. So let's get started. Alright, so I got these pieces cut. I kind of stacked them up here so you get a general idea of what it's going to look like when I get done. The 2x10 is the base, the 1x6 is just a decorative piece. The trim will be along the bottom with the topper up there. So next step is going to be lots and lots and lots and lots of sanding. This stuff is raw wood. It's not clean cut. It's very rough. You can see on this post there's a lot of edges to it, a lot of texture going on. So we've got to take all of that off so that it takes paint well and looks like a good finished product. So I'm going to get set up for that. But first I'm going to try my hand at doing a router edge on the 2x10. I haven't done these on the posts I've made in the past, but I just recently got a router. So I want to try it out and see how good it looks. So I'm going to get set up for that next. Alright, so I've got my base clamped down to this scrap piece of 2x8 I had laying around. I've decided which side I want to be the top. This side's prettier than the other side. And I've got the Roman bit mounted up in the router. I'm going to do a test run on this scrap piece just to make sure the depth is set correctly. And then I'll start on routing this. I know this thing makes a mess just from my tests when I bought it. So it's going to be fun to clean it up, but it'll be worth it in the end. Alright, so I did my test run. The depth looks good. It's cutting all the way through. My board was moving around a little bit, so I found the heaviest thing I had handy, a bucket of dirt, set it on top of it so maybe it'll stay still. Got the router, got my PPE. Moment of truth. We're going to cut this thing up, see what happens. Alright, so we got that routed up, did a nice edge on it all the way around. I think that's really going to set this one off and make it look much more professional. It did make quite a bit of a mess, so I'm going to take a minute to get that cleaned up so I'm not walking in sawdust all the time. Get the table cleaned up, and then we'll get the jig set up to get these pieces put together. But first, tons and tons and tons of sanding. Here we go. Alright, so I did a quick little cleanup, put the router away, got the sander out. I'm going to start with some 80 grit, go up to 120, and then 320. I may need to go get some sandpaper. I'm not really sure yet. This has been abused with the last 5 or 6 posts that I made, so I might have to make a trip. But what projects complete without at least one trip to the local hardware store? I'm going to get everything set up, get started. Alright, so that 80 grit on the orbital sander really makes short work of this flat base pieces. Got them nice and smooth. I got the edges sharp, nice clean edges, end grains nice and smooth. Those are ready. First round done. It's time to work on the post. That one's the one that takes forever. Alright, we got the post all cleaned up and smooth. Took out all the lumps and bumps. Smooth to the touch, sharp edges. Now I'm going to switch over to the higher grit sandpaper and do the finish on it. Then we'll get ready to put it all together. All right, we got everything finished sanded. We got some nice smooth edges, nice sharp edges. I went ahead and did some hand sanding on the topper here. It's a little too detailed and too intricate to do with the power sander, so I had to use just some sandpaper by hand. Post is nice and clean. Next is the hard part, is getting everything lined up straight and square and put together. So I'm going to get set up for that after I clean up all the sanding bits. That'll be the next step. I don't know an easier way to do this, so what I normally do is I stand everything up. I use the tape measure to make sure all the edges are straight, and then I use the pencil to put a little line right along the edge. And then I can lay everything down and I line those lines back up when I put the screws in through the bottom to make sure everything stays straight. So I'm going to get measuring, get everything straightened out, get my screws and my drill out, get this thing put together. Alright, so we got the lines put on there. Went ahead and got my drills, my hardware and everything out. I'm going to use this old scrap piece of wood, and I'm going to pre-drill the screw holes so that they don't split the wood. I'm going to use a small one there, and then use just the tip of this spade bit to give it a bevel so that the screws countersink nicely. So I'm going to get that set up and then we'll put it together. Got the holes pre-drilled here, countersunk. I did it so that they kind of offset each other because the screws are going to be overlapping. It's not really precise. I just kind of put some holes in there so I know where to start. Make sure all of them hit the post. I'm going to set it up and get this stuff lined up now. Okay, we're making progress. We got the base mounted up. Everything's pretty close to being square. It's not perfect, but it's not supposed to be. I didn't show you guys earlier, but these are the hardware that I used to put it together. So I used the 1 5/8 screw through the 1x6 into the post, and then the 3" through the 1x into the post. So there's 6 bolts or 6 screws all together holding the base on. 3 of the 1 5/8 and 3 of the 3". So it shouldn't be going anywhere. The next step is to glue the topper on. After that, I'll have to let that dry for a while. And it's raining yet again, so we will not be painting today. So that'll be the end of this section. I'll get some more video for you guys once I get the topper on there and you can see the finished product. Okay, I got the topper glued on. I just use glue on that because it's not load bearing, and I've tried doing screws or nails or even a nail gun before, and it leaves holes that have to be filled, and it's a lot of extra effort when the glue holds just fine. I've still got to cut and install the trim, but I'm going to give the topper time to dry, hour or two, maybe go have some lunch, and then we'll come back and we'll cut the trim and install that on the base, and then it'll be ready for paint. All right, having me a little bite to eat, watch a little YouTube, cooled down a little bit. Now we're back out here to get this trim installed. It's going to go on the base this way, give it a little nicer look. So I'm going to get that cut up, get everything sanded up. I think I'm just going to try gluing it on this time. I typically hit it with an air-powered nail gun, but it leaves a big divot in the trim, which makes me have to fill it. So I'm going to try just gluing it on and see if that is a cleaner look and still hold up. Alright, so I went ahead and used the nail gun to nail these in. I wasn't comfortable with using the glue, and I don't have enough trim to cut them again if I need to, which would require another trip to the hardware store. So I passed on that, went ahead and nailed them in. I'll just fill them in with caulk or wood filler or something like that, and then sand them smooth. I'm going to go ahead and clean up these edges. They're nice and clean, fill in the holes, and then we'll have to let it dry for a little while, and then we'll paint. It's been so rainy, I can't paint anyway, so that'll come in another later video. Finally got this post finished up. Didn't make too big of a mess doing it. I got all the creases and everything caulked in, top and bottom. So now we let it dry, we get some paint. I've already picked up the knob that the customer wants to use. I'm going to have to repaint it though because it's a green-blue color and they want it to be black. Once I get the paint and the weather clears, we'll get back to that. It'll be the second part of this video. As always, thanks guys for hanging out with me here in Blake's Garage. Y'all stay safe and rock on. What's up everybody? Welcome back to the garage. This is part 2 of the porch post build. We finally got a break in the rain, so we're going to lay some paint on here, try to finish it up so I can get it to the customer. I've already got a few things set up, so I'm going to give you a little preview of what we got going on, and then we'll get to painting. Alright, we got the post set up here in the backyard. It's still damp back here, but at least it's not raining. Hopefully we can get some paint on here before it starts. I went ahead and painted the bottom the other day. Sorry about the background noise. I like to put some paint on the bottom of the post so when it sets on the porch and it gets wet, water doesn't seep in from the bottom. So I've already sealed that up, but we're going to be painting the rest of it. We're going to be using this Rust-Oleum paint. The customer wanted satin black. She also wanted a backer with a knob on it instead of a hook. So we got this backer. I took the knob off because it's a clear knob. She wants that black as well. Got me a foam block for sanding, so I'll be able to sand it in between coats. Probably do 3 coats depending on how well this covers. So I'm going to get set up and get started. Alright, so I got the first coat on there, just a light coat. I'm going to let that dry for an hour or so. I'll come back and do a light sanding, and then we'll put down the second coat. See y'all later. Alright, it's steamy out there. It's been almost an hour. I think it's dry enough. I'm going to go ahead and lay the second coat down. I'm not going to record it just because it's just redundant. There's a lot of background noise out there. So I do want to show you the knob and back plate that we're going to put on here. This is designed to put on your porch to hang signs or wreaths or whatever on, and a lady in my neighborhood wanted to get one. I've built 4 or 5 of them, so they've been pretty popular. So I'm going to show you the back plate and knob real quick, and then I'm going to go ahead and go do the paint. So this is the knob and back plate. I got it at a local hobby store. I think it was Hobby Lobby. It did have a greenish tint to it, but she wanted it black to match the post, so I took the knob off and painted it with the post. I think it's going to come out really nice. Going to be able to hang her signs or wreaths or whatever on, so I'm going to get the post painted up and then we'll mark it up and get this thing mounted. Alright, so I got the second coat on here. It's still nice and wet. We got good coverage from that paint. I think it's really going to look good, especially with that knob and backer plate. I'm going to let it dry another hour, give it a light sanding and one more finish coat, and we'll be ready to put everything together. Alright, so I got 3 coats down on this post. I got the back plate painted. I went ahead and contacted the customer to see how she wanted the back plate. It could go either way. She wants the keyhole on the bottom, so that's the way we're going to mount it up. I'm going to go ahead and get some measurements and tape it off, mark the center, mark the holes. We'll get some drilling done, and we'll mount it up. We'll see what it looks like when we get done. All right, so we got the knob and the back plate mounted up. I think it looks pretty good. Might as well let it dry a little bit longer. It's still kind of sticky. And then we'll take it over and deliver it to the customer. As always, thank you guys for hanging out with me here in the garage. It's one more project done, and this was a paying project, so that's even better. I hope what I'm doing inspires you guys to get out and make your own projects and do your own work and just have fun. It's nice to build things with your own hands and make creations that nobody else has. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day and rock on.